Murphy Austin Adams Schoenfeld LLP, focusing on business law and commercial litigation, is proud to support Rob on the Road Region Rising. More information available at murphyaustin.com.
Coming up next on Rob at Home, did you know there are 28 hidden gems in Sacramento County where you can find
a ukulele, a pressure washer, a high school diploma, critical thinking, and inspiration?
The CEO and Library Director of Sacramento County, Rivkah Sass, is my guest next on Rob at Home.
And now, Rob on the Road, exploring Northern California.
I'm thrilled to bring you Rivkah Sass. Rivkah Sass is the CEO and the Library Director for Sacramento County, 28 libraries in Sacramento County, and you will not believe the modern library. Rivkah Sass, good to see you.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And first, I have to say, I am stunned at what you can find inside the public libraries. This is not the library that you imagine or that anyone imagines, in my opinion, because you're constantly evolving and changing and growing. You can even rent tools check out tools.
That's right. You can check out tools, musical instruments, and a whole lot of things in between. We want to make those tools available to people who might not otherwise have access to them. So we have microscopes too. We have other things. We have so many things that I don't even remember in the library of things, all available with a library card. Cameras, lenses, other things. Ukuleles, that's one of my favorites.
You talked to me about the importance of the library being a universal language of critical thinking where you can learn all sides of the story. Today, that is so important.
I agree with you. And I think one of the things that we have forgotten how to do, or maybe also still need to learn, is that for every story, there are two sides. And that's one of the reasons that I love being a librarian, is that we do our best to offer both sides of every story in our libraries. And we want people to read, to think, to debate, to decide for themselves, but they have to have all the information to do that.
You're doing a lot to make sure that happens, and we're going to get to that as well. I have to say, we live in a polarized world today, and I also think that that can be changed. And do you feel that a library is a safe space for someone to go who may be completely opinionated on one side or the other and ask questions that they may be afraid to ask anywhere else?
Absolutely. That is, you just asked the best question you could ask me. We started several years ago, we started having conversations called Let's Talk About, for that very reason. The very reason of how do we have civil conversations? How do we engage and have a conversation about race or gender or death, things that are often taboo? That's one of the roles that I believe a library can play in a very important way, that we get people together, we offer that opportunity, and people come together so that they can do that.
I want to sort of brag about you for a minute, if it's okay, because the things that you are talking about are such a big deal that it caught the attention of the New York Times. And the New York Times did a national story on you and your approach to being a librarian.
We have to be a literate society. And literacy begins at birth. 90% of a child's brain is developed by the age of 5. So it doesn't start when you start kindergarten. To get ready to start kindergarten, parents need, we call it, there are 5 components: talk, sing, read, write, play. And those are all things that the library can help parents discover and do with their children. so that they are ready to start school and they are, ready to learn. I think of the brain as, as this flower waiting to open. And I think of a baby, they're a genius. Think about it. When a baby's born, think of all the things they have to learn in the first few years of life. They learn to crawl, they learn to walk, they learn to talk, all of those things. They learn this incredibly complex communication system. And if we know that we have a role in that as parents, then they're going to be all the more ready for what comes next. And that's formal education. And I am beyond passionate about what we're doing. And we at Sacramento Public Library, we have an early learning and development manager. We have an early learning specialist. We have librarians who've gone through specialized training to help with that very thing, because it's so important. And we have a K-12 specialist to work with the schools. All of that is shoring up what's available to people in our community. And I'm really proud of it. I'm really, really proud of what we do.
And if someone has not been in a library recently, just step in the door and you will see what we are talking about. You've mentioned this a couple of times, so I feel very safe going there with you on this, about how personal this is to you. Being a librarian, education, access to education and to books. It is so personal to you that it has taken you around the world, and you have brought some of that worldly perspective back to Sacramento. You go and work with refugees. Talk to me about this journey for you.
Well, it's like much of life, it's serendipitous, and it was an accidental journey.
These are Syrian refugees.
Syrian refugees. They're at Zaatari camp. It's the largest refugee camp in the world. There are 82,000 people who live in that camp.
Right outside of Jordan?
It's right outside of, it's about an hour and a half north of Amman, Jordan. It's right on the Syrian border.
Okay.
And it literally is a couple of miles from the Syrian border. And it's been an incredible experience for me, learning and meeting these people whose lives have been so disrupted, who have now, some of them lived in the camp for 9 years. They've gotten married, they've had children. There are children who are 8 and 9 years old who know nothing except that experience of living in the camp. But there are libraries, and being able to go
there. There are libraries?
There are libraries. There are
in a refugee camp.
In a refugee camp, and they are run by refugees. And it's basically, when you think about it, it's sort of the largest refugee-run library system in the world. And
wow.
It's amazing. And there's a woman from the University of Washington, Dr. Karen Fisher, who went in and started working with people. Well, then I got to go, and I've been 4 times and hope to go back. And having the opportunity to talk about brain development and early learning, and why it's important to read to your child, and why it's important to sing with your child and talk with your child and play with your child. All of those things are components to that. And having that experience has been just incredible. Starting a book club, I found Jane Eyre in Arabic and English, and being able to hand that out to people and say, read this, talk about this experience, talk about her. These people have been there for so long, and there are young men who are educated. There are former professors. There are writers. There are creative people who are in this space where they don't know if they'll ever get out. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. And they still have hope, and they're incredibly resilient. They have enough hope to get married and have children and try to learn new things, express themselves through their art, and try to make better lives for their children in spite of where they are. And that, to me, is the number one learning. It's that being resilient is the most important thing we all can learn. And for heaven's sakes, what we've learned through the pandemic certainly is that resilience is it matters, and we need to stay sane, and we need to stay hopeful. And I think that's been an important lesson for me.
You've had to learn resilience yourself in some very difficult ways. The loss of your husband, rather unexpectedly, very unexpectedly, in my opinion.
Yes. And, it's funny because it's been several years, but, when you spend 40 years of your life with someone and then they're not there anymore. And, and I think about all the things that he's missing and all the things that he was better at. Abe was a psychiatric social worker with this incredible ability to just talk to people. Mm-hmm. And as many people told me, he always made them feel that they were the most important person in the room. And he did have that ability. And he certainly was my support network, my rock. And even though I would get mad at him if I was frustrated about something at work and he would try to problem solve, and I would say, no, I just need you to listen. He was this incredible human being who actually made the world a better place. And, and it's very hard to lose someone in 5 days. And, as many people have experienced in the last couple of years, but I had 40 years and I had a really good and adventuresome life. So I have to also remember to be grateful for that.
Well, and I'm grateful that you were okay with me bringing that up. And there's a reason also, and that is that there are a lot of people in grief.
Yes.
Now, especially with the pandemic, and grief comes in many forms and many waves. What can the library do for grief? And did it do anything for you?
Well, thank you for asking that. As a matter of fact, when Abe died, we were in the middle of planning our Let's Talk About series. We were just launching it. And the first program that we had about that was racism. And it was very powerful and very effective. The second one was death. And it was just a few months after he died. And we had a chaplain and a woman named Caitlin Doty who writes these wonderful books about being a mortician. And there's humor to them, but there's also this true respect for understanding death and dying in many cultures. She's written about that around the world. And that actually helped me a lot. And it taught me, you hear the word chaplain, and I think, I had a mental model about what a chaplain was. And then we had a very tragic experience at the library where we had to make use of chaplains. And it taught me that there are people out there who want to walk you through the process. I will tell you also that reading Joan Didion's book, A Year of Magical Thinking, The Year of Magical Thinking, was a great source of support for me personally. She went through a very similar experience. She lost her husband. She lost a child. I lost a child. He was 27 when he died. I lost my husband later. And, again, it's knowing that there are people who share those experiences. And honestly, that's where the library can come in, because there are resources that help you where we're really able to get to what they want or what they need.
Yeah, conversations get really deep very quickly in a library.
Yes, they do.
They really do. I've seen it 1,000 times, and it's always different, every conversation, and it's always powerful. Mm-hmm. You've been there 12 plus years.
Exactly. I have.
And you've also done a lot. You've been credited with turning around an organization in need and making it successful. What did that teach you?
Well, I'm going to go back to the word resilience. But I think, everything is complicated. And I was lucky. I feel so blessed that I got the job in Sacramento, and I got to come here during a very difficult time. And really, I'm a fixer. I love to fix things. In another life, I would be a mechanic. I call myself the tech savvy grandma.
Go to the library and learn how to do it.
Right. I love to fix physical things, and the opportunity to actually take a large system with 300 staff and 28 locations and rebuild our own confidence in who we were, that the library as a system will be here long after I'm gone. It was here long before I came here. And that you can have, what I learned was you can have something bad happen, and you can figure out what went wrong and you can move forward. It's really systems, it's really thinking about systems. And that's what I learned. And I learned that staff want to do a good job. And I work with an amazing group of people. And that I think is the most important thing, is that you recognize it, you see what went wrong, you recognize it, you do everything you can to fix it, and you move on to the next thing, which for us was, how do we better serve the needs of the community? I got here during a recession. There were a lot of things that we needed to provide to people.
I'm thinking about you saying these words, and I'm remembering how many times I heard shh in a library. However, what came to my mind just now is that the importance of communication when things go wrong, and not to jump to conclusions, but to do your research, to do your searching. And you, as far as a metaphor, and then literally at the library, are the perfect example of doing that.
That's very kind of you to say that. And thank you. And it means a lot, because I didn't get into this business because I wanted to do shh. I got into this business because I love people, and I love helping people. And I believe that role of the library is that place where people can help themselves. And sometimes they just need a little help from a librarian. And that to me that's a fortunate thing.
What matters most to you, Rivkah, in your life? You have announced that 2022 will bring your retirement from the library, but you have also said that you will stay as long as needed. But for all intents and purposes, 2022 is your plan, correct?
Correct.
What matters most to you today?
Today, what matters most to me personally, well, I'm a grandma. I have 2 adorable little grandsons. That matters. Family matters, because my family is so small. My lovely daughter and her beautiful family matter to me. My work matters to me, because I'm coming to the end. I'm on that sort of downward slope, recognizing that there are other things in life that I want to accomplish. And what matters to me is wanting to do the best job I can while I'm here, and I'm certainly not slacking. I'm trying to get, cram as many things in as I can. But I also what matters to me is that ability to have some adventures. I love to travel, and I joke that I want to go groom donkeys on the Isle of Wight. There's a donkey sanctuary there, and it's really cool. Having some adventures while I can still have them, that matters to me. But I think, really when I think about it from the spiritual sense, what matters to me is that love of my family, the love of my work, and the love of my community. I love Sacramento. And, you put that all together and it's an incredible package.
You have a perspective and a lens and a view from where you are in life, both with your career and your life experiences. You have a perspective that is incredibly unique. So with that said, what must be shared from you to everybody who is watching or anyone watching? What is it that is the glue, the heart of the matter to you?
Oh, that's such a profound question. And I feel so unprofound in trying to answer it. But honestly, what matters to me is we have this beautiful planet that we all live on. And we have 7 billion people. And what matters to me is that we figure out how to connect with one another so that we both save this beautiful planet, that we take care of one another, and then we try to leave the world a better place than we found it. And that is it really does drive me. And I'm a little worried about us right now because we're so divided. Going back to the beginning of the conversation, we're so divided. And I want us to come together and smile about our differences, be able to talk about them with respect and with love for the humanity that each and every one of us has. And, and then solve problems together. I guess that's what matters.
And you also told me that a library is a place where what you just said you dreamed of can happen, which tells me that you've seen it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I think back on, I have a long career, but when I think back on the time here and I think about the grandparents who came up to us when we did a program on gender and shared with us that their 7-year-old grandchild was going through trying to understand who they were as a boy or a girl or whatever, in between. And when they shared that and said it was so important for them to know that we cared enough to be able to have that conversation and to be able to talk about it and to provide that support. And, that I love stories like that. And I've had so many of them in my life where we've made a difference. Walking into that library for the first time made a difference in somebody's life. And that matters too.
And when you walk out of your job in 2022, what will it have taken to make that difference for you?
Oh, Roy, I think what it will have taken is knowing that we have done the best we can under challenging circumstances as a library, and knowing that I've been lucky enough to work with amazing people, and I'm leaving the library at a time when we have this incredible management team. We have incredible staff. There's leadership there that I can walk away. We have great support. I've got a wonderful library board. The friends of the library have been incredible. I could do a whole segment just on the friends and what they have meant in supporting and advocating for the library. So all of those things, all of those things together.
That's lovely. I have to ask you this because I would like to end on a light note. Many people, when we do Zoom interviews, stack their computers on books. Just curious if yours is on a book, and if it is, what is the book?
How did you guess? Books are the best. Well, I am not a tall person.
And don't pull it out if it really is under there. Just
Yeah,
read
it really is.
The camera will go all like.
It's a book that belonged to my son, actually. It's People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. And it's the perfect height for this moment where we could be sort of equal.
Rivkah, I am so grateful for knowing you and for spending this time together. And just like a librarian, I leave with so much more knowledge and inspiration and resilience from having spent this time with you. And I thank you for that.
It's been very special. Thank you. Thanks for thinking I was worthy of being with you. It really, it touches me. Thanks.
Your story and every single person's story, and I don't have to tell a librarian this, must be shared, because when we share our stories, we set other people free, and oddly, ourselves too. And you've been doing that your whole career. So thank you.
Thank you.
Rivkah Sass, the CEO and the library director for Sacramento County, right here on Rob at Home. Bye, Rivkah.
Bye, Rob. Thank you.
Murphy Austin Adams Schoenfeld LLP, focusing on business law and commercial litigation, is proud to support Rob on the Road, Region Rising. More information available at murphyaustin.com.